This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to Why Is Everyone Yelling with Lindsay Hine. I'm your host, Lindsay. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so grateful you are joining us. Today's episode is episode 80, and my guest is Jennifer Borget. This was such a fun conversation. Jennifer is the mom of 3, and in this conversation, we went so many different directions, but one of the coolest things we talked about is that her and her husband paid off their house in their 30s, and they lived debt-free, and it was really cool to hear how they made that happen, the sacrifices they made, and they made it a goal, and they did it. She is a blogger, and she's huge on Instagram. Her Instagram is Jennifer Borget, Borget. She's the creator of the Movie Night Journal, which is really cool. She's very passionate about movie watching, and they do a family movie night every single week, and there's this journal that she created that gives you suggestions and activities and snack ideas to make your family movie night perfect. I mean, they are into this. Jennifer is a former news anchor, and we also talk about that and how that shifted, how her life shifted when she went from that full-time career to staying home with her kids. And I really wish I lived in the same town as her so that we could be friends and we could go on walks together and hang out. So I think you all are going to love this episode with Jennifer. If you do love it, please leave us a quick rating and review so potential new listeners can find us. You just do that on iTunes. It's a really simple, fast way to support the show. You can also do it on Spotify. Spotify, you just leave a rating. iTunes, you can also leave a review. Anyway, friends, enjoy this conversation with Jennifer. Well, today on the podcast, we have Jennifer Borget on the show. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Thanks for having me.
Did you just get back from Disney not too long ago?
It's so funny. I'm like, whenever I leave my house, I'm either like going to a cheer competition with my daughter or going to Disney. So that's the only 2 places I go. Yes, I did. Yeah, I went there for the Disney Dreamers event. It's an event they put on for teens every year, and it's really inspiring. And it was my first time going, so it was really cool.
That is so fun. Is Disney Disney's a thing that you do with your family? Are you guys a Disney family?
Yes, I would say we're a Disney family. I'd say that, I'm right up there at the top, like cheering everyone on, like, yes, we're a Disney family. And then my husband's like kind of trailing at the end, like, oh, here we go again, But the kids are really into it. We all love the movies and stuff, but the parks are so fun whenever we can get a chance to make it out to them. And since we're in Texas, it's nice because we're kind of right in the middle of Disneyland and Disney World. So just depending on what's going on and, if we have another family we're visiting or a work trip or something, we can kind of go either direction.
If you had to choose, which one would you choose? Disney World or Disneyland?
I'd have to say it depends how long the trip is. If it's longer than 4 days, like Disney World for sure. If we only have like 2 nights, Disneyland for sure, because we can just knock out so much more with everything being so close together.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us about your work, like pre-staying home and homeschooling. I know you're a news anchor. So talk to us about that part of your life.
Yeah. So I grew up just always loving to write and talk to people and interview people and get to know people and tell stories. And I just knew I wanted to be a journalist, like from a really young age. I was really drawn to the news and watching the news and, watching these people tell the stories. So that's just what I set my sights on, probably as early as like middle school. And I honed in on that, doing all the broadcast classes in high school, and knew that's what I wanted to do in college, and went to college in Utah and BYU that have a really good broadcast journalism program, and did all the internships and everything. And yeah, that was my job, like starting in radio and then moving to TV. And we moved to Austin because I got a job as a weekend anchor and a reporter in Texas. And I really loved it. And then I had a couple kids. I still loved it, but it was just really demanding with time and stuff. And I'd already started writing my blog, and I was having a lot of fun doing that, and realized, hey, dreams can evolve, dreams can change. But yeah, that was my big thing. My whole heart was in that for a good chunk of my life.
I love that you say dreams can evolve and change, because like we can get really stuck in doing the same thing and thinking like this is what I was supposed to do with my life. And it's important to like reevaluate and say, maybe it's time for something different.
Absolutely. I think that was a big eye-opening experience for me, because deciding to step away from news was a really, really big, hard decision for me. And I just felt like I was letting people down who had, bet on me in college, and like I'd won awards and scholarships. And, I felt like I was the next like big, reporter. Like it was just, that was what I always saw myself doing. So deciding to change that and to take a different path was definitely really scary. But looking back now, now I'm like, I'm trying to think how long, almost 9 years out, maybe like 8 to 9 years out from that decision. And I just know it was the best decision for me.
Do you ever watch like national news and think, what if I would have done that? Like, what if I would have gone all in on that?
Sometimes I do. But it's so, honestly, like I don't envy reporters. I feel like it's so hard, especially right now, covering everything that's going on. It's a hard business to be in. And yeah, I look at that and think like, wow, that could have been me. But I'm also just like so grateful that my path went another direction, and that I was brave enough to take that leap into a different direction, because, that path would have been one way and it would have been fine, I'm sure. But I love the path I'm on.
Yeah. And so many of your skills you use on your social media and your writing and everything you do. And it's like, you could, if you were like, I am getting the itch to interview people again, you could do that, right? Like you could have a podcast or whatever you wanted to do. Like you have all the skills and the things that you need. So it's pretty cool to see that you've shifted.
Yeah. That's one thing that I'm forever grateful for is, everything I learned doing that, interview skills, like you said, and writing, like I'm, writing blog posts and writing captions. And now I freelance for other websites, and, video editing. When Reels came around, I was like, oh yeah, I got this, like you can,
that stresses me out.
I got this video stuff, I know it's a struggle for a lot of us, but no, I love it. I love video. I love audio. I love putting stories together and finding creative ways to do that on social media has been so much fun for me. So yes, that's the nice thing is, seeing that I'm still using a lot of those things that I learned.
Okay. You and your husband met and got married super young.
Yes.
19. But then you really did, like you careered it up for a long time and like waited to have kids. I feel like usually you hear people get married at 19, they have a baby at like 21.
Right. No, we got married young. It was funny because looking back at my journals and things that I kept, it was, when we first met, we knew so quick that we were going to get married. I think after just a couple of weeks, we were like, oh yeah, we're getting married. But we thought it would be a year or so from then, and because we were both in school, and then we were just like, we want to get married, like why are we, and we were going to 2 different schools at the time because he had a golf scholarship at a school about 3.5 hours away, and then I was going to BYU, so we were trying to figure out how to navigate that. We're like, let's just get married. That was like, people go like wild in their 20s and stuff. Our wild was getting married, I guess. So we did that, but it was so fun. And, the nice thing I think is we've grown together. Like we've grown up together, and yeah, we waited to finish school and start careers before we had our first kid, Jada. But I was 24, so I was still pretty young.
Oh, you were that young. Wow.
Yeah. We've been married for like 5 or 6 years, but we were still young. And so it's been fun seeing how far we've come from, like our first kitchen table was a cardboard box and we had fold out chairs, and really like grown together this entire time.
Okay, we have to talk about that because I read your blog post that you guys paid off your mortgage in your 30s, and I am like, I think that is so incredible, and so many people would love to do it. They don't think it's feasible. I personally don't know that I'm willing to make the sacrifices.
Yeah.
You know, that, I mean, that's the big
Yeah.
thing. I mean, there was a lot of
Yeah.
sacrifices there as far as like what you
Mhm.
choose to spend your money on. Can you talk
Mhm.
about that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, like you said, sacrifice, I think, is a big thing. And I think for us, since we were married so young and since we just, like, we started out with so little that was just what we were used to. And even now, it's still, I told my husband, I'm like, oh, I just really want a soda last night. Like I was like, can we just go to the gas station and get that was like a treat for me. Not that it's like you can't, enjoy things like that, but we just were so used to not having a lot in college and not making a lot of money and just not having nice things ever. Not saying nice things is bad, but we just were used to it because that's how we were for so long. So, shopping at thrift stores for our furniture and just living like that and budgeting, like that was a big thing. Like how much money do we have coming in and trying to save even when we weren't making that much, even if we were only saving $50 a month, like it was just something. And I had these little goals of like, we're going to take a vacation one day and we're saving $50 a month so we could take a vacation. So I think that helped us a lot because as we graduated school and, got our first jobs and which didn't pay very much, like reporters do not get paid a lot of money. And, it was like, but it was still more than we were used to. And I was like, okay, now we can save even more. And then every time we started making more, it was like, we didn't spend more. We didn't increase our spending. We just increased our savings. So that helped a lot because of just that kind of mindset that we were already in. And then with paying off the house, that was still a big jump, but I really think that once I had this shift of like reading stories of other people who had done it and, people who had paid off their debt and people who had, said like, yeah, we paid off our mortgage. And, you go from thinking, how is that even possible? I don't even know how you can do that. But then when you see it and you see, okay, well, they weren't doing things that much differently than we are. Like, they just added more every month, or okay, they weren't, instead of getting a new car, they, put that towards their house. And so little things like that converted to big things. And then we just made it a goal, like, all right, we're gonna do this. And it started with buying this house. Like we built this house and we knew we wanted more space because we had our youngest daughter who's now 3.5. And, but we were pregnant with her at the time and we're like, okay, we're going to need a bigger home and a little more space. And I just wanted trees. So we decided to build a home. And, at the time, thankfully the market back then wasn't as crazy as it is now. And we were able to negotiate, like, okay, what if we, we kind of talked them down, like, okay, you're selling it for this much, but how about we knock off this much and you get us like, this premium lot. And so we got like a $15,000 discount because, they were trying to sell them. And then we just did bare bones with building, like no upgraded carpet, no upgraded countertops, no upgraded cabinets. Like we just got basic everything in our home so that it could be like as inexpensive as possible. And, we did that so we could put 50% down and that our mortgage would be about the same as our previous mortgage on our home. That was our goal. And then after we did that, we're like, all right, we did now let's try to pay it off within 5 years. And then we just went crazy and really every extra dollar was going towards the home. And when we sold our other house and we put all of the equity towards this home. We haven't had new cars in years. Like my husband's driving an '08 Corolla. Like we just put everything towards it. So that was, when you're that focused on a goal and you're like, this is what we're doing. That was really what we did. Just every extra little bit, like we just budgeted and everything over our budget went towards the house, and now we're mortgage free.
That's so cool. Who does the budget, you or your husband?
We do it together, and we
Oh.
kind of like go back and forth on who's more of the enforcer.
That's good though.
But yeah, we do it together though. We go through like, and we'll have to like get each other back on track every once in a while. Like now that the mortgage is paid off, and we're like, okay, we can start fixing up the house a little bit. Our budget's kind of shifted around and kind of adjust, as we go. Because before it was like, okay, we're just trying to pay off the house, and now it's like, okay, now we can have a little bit of fun.
So yeah, like you did all the basics on the house, but now if you wanted to like be like, we're going to upgrade our cabinets or we're going to upgrade the floor, you're like, we'll just pay that in
Exactly.
cash.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So we upgraded the floors in November, and
Oh,
we
that's
paid cash for
exciting.
that. And that was really fun. And then we just had the home painted last week
Oh, I saw that
because
on your stories.
yes, yeah, we had like the basic like flat builder paint, and it was so smudgy. And but even with that, like I interviewed 7 different
Oh my
painters trying to
gosh.
find like
Look
the
at you.
best one and the best prices, and like best quality. Like even with things like that, I try to think about going into it, and how, because if I went with, one bid was like 3 times higher than all the others, and what if that was the first one I got and
Oh,
paid that,
you're like
so.
really making me feel like I need to do some more research here on some things.
Hey, I can help. I actually really enjoy it. It's really fun. I pretend I'm on The Bachelorette and just have fun with it.
See, listen, there's another side business for you. You just put together yourself a little little plan on how to interview contractors and things like that.
Yeah.
There you go, $10,
Yeah.
buy it. Yep.
Right.
All kinds of business ideas for you. That's so inspiring though. Honestly, I just don't think most Americans that have the means are willing to live like that. I mean, it's just because you want what you want. If you can buy it, and that's how we live. And so,
yeah,
I mean, I resonate a little bit. We're a 1-car family, and we have a 2015 minivan. So we have little sacrifices here and there.
Yeah.
But as I think about we're like thinking about adding on a master addition to our house. We have 4 kids, 3 bedrooms. One of them's used as an office. All of our kids sleep in the same room.
Oh, yeah.
But is it necessary? Probably not.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where like it's so hard to decide, because you're like, we're actually fine how we are.
Right.
But we live in this culture where we think we need more, right?
Right. Yeah. It's so true. We really do. And it's hard to decide and to decipher sometimes, is like, is it, and we tell her, not that it's wrong, but we tell ourselves, I deserve this. And that, and when you use that word deserve, you kind of have to think like, well, what does that mean? What is that? Why do I deserve this? And what does that mean? And there is something to be said about enjoying life, and enjoying your life. Like this question that you have right now, if you're building this extra home, or extra addition to your home. I have been having the same debate about like a pool for a while, because I've been like, oh, like it would be so nice. We're in Texas. It's so hot and we don't have a neighborhood pool. It would be nice to just, we have all this land and just use some of it to build a pool. But, not just building the pool that's expensive, but the monthly maintenance and I, no matter how I calculate it, I can't like justify, and I guess it's like this, I'm torn between this, like, oh, is it just, I'm used to this. Like, I could do it. Really, we could, but do we have to?
I know. It's like, why we have, there's like guilt associated with it.
That I know. So it's like trying to, balance this, like, not feeling bad, but also, I don't know, but I've decided that I just would have to have, I'd have to have like my kids. This is me personally, not saying anyone else needs to do this before they have a pool, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we just need to like make sure that we're, on a roll, like ready to retire when our kids are out of the house, and then be like, okay, yeah, we're good to go. Like, I don't know exactly what that threshold number is going to be. for when we're like go time with the pool. But I kind of said like, okay, in 5 years when our youngest is 8 and our olders are teenagers, like that would be like the perfect time. We don't have to have it right now, but if things are still going good and we've still been saving a lot, then we can get a pool.
And I personally, like, I do not want a pool near my house until all my kids know how to swim. That freaks me out. And your youngest is 3, right? My youngest is also 3.
Okay. Yep.
But yeah, once everybody knows how to swim, I'm like, okay. And in Texas, that's enough to justify it right there.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I know. Oh my goodness. It is so hot here. But I don't know. Have you heard of those sites like Swimply? Like you can rent a pool. It's kind of like Airbnb for pools.
Okay.
We did that last year and it was awesome. Like for my kids' birthdays, we would just rent a pool for a couple hours. And it was so great. Like we pick one that has a pool house or a bathroom outside. So we just go, and you can bring friends if you want, but we would just go by ourselves. And I'm like, we could do this like 20,000 times.
And it wouldn't cost the amount.
Right. And it wouldn't cost as much. So that's kind of like our go-to for now. And it's kind of like sleeping on it. If you really want to buy a nice purse or shoes or something,
Totally.
It's like, let me like sleep on it and see if I still want them in the morning. That's what I'm doing for like 5 years with the pool.
I have never heard of that. It's a brilliant idea. I just used Toro for the first time because since we're a one-car family, I went out of town for the weekend and I needed a car. And Toro, same thing. It's like Airbnb for cars. And I had the best experience. It was like $100 cheaper than renting from like a rental place.
Wow. That's
Super
amazing.
clean.
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah. Car was super clean. Communication was great. And we used to have an Airbnb in our, like behind our old house. And so I was familiar with how that works and ratings and things like that. Like the ratings, if the person has good ratings, their car's probably going to be really nice. And same with the Airbnbs, right? And probably with your pool situation.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that is really cool. I didn't know that about the cars.
Hey, everybody. Okay, I have a new sponsor that I'm so excited about. I will be using their services this coming Sunday. Cannot wait. It is Shoot Photography. Have you heard of them? So Shoot is a female-run small business, and they offer 30-minute outdoor photo sessions that are free to book. They take place in photo-worthy hotspots in local parks. And then from your session, you can choose which photos you want to purchase. You get a digital gallery of 40 plus high-res, lightly edited photos within 3 to 5 business days. There's no sitting fee, so this is a no-risk service. You only pay for the photos you love. Photos start at $30, and when you buy more, you get a discount. So the more you buy, the more you save. Price is at $15 per photo for 10 or more photos, or just $2.95 for the full gallery. I mean, this is a really, really great deal. And it's low stress because you show up with your family, or if you want to do like branding pictures, whatever pictures you need taken, you show up for your 30-minute session at a local hotspot. Like here in Raleigh, there's like 6 different options. We're going to go down to Pullen Park and get photos taken for our family this coming Sunday. And then you just buy the pictures you love, or if you love so many, buy the full gallery and you have them all. They have a strong multi-step vetting process for their photographers. They only hire the top 2 to 5% of applicants. And I'm telling you what, getting a little mini session of family photos can be really stressful, and this is a low stress way to do it. I am so excited to check it out. I'm having my pictures taken with my family on this Sunday, and then I'll share the photos on Instagram so you guys can see what they look like. And so I'm so excited that Shoot Photography is offering listeners of the show a discount on your pictures. So use the code SandyBoy. That's the name of our podcast network, Sandy Boy Productions. Use the code SandyBoy to receive 15% off 5 or more photos from your session. That's SandyBoy to receive 15% off 5 or more photos for your session. And that's at shoot.com, SHOOTT.com. And you should know they are all over the country. So you just go to their website and search your city. They have locations in nearly every single state and major city. So go check it out. Shoot.com, SHOOTT.com. Use the code SANDYBOY for 15% off 5 or more of your photos. All right, friends, back to the show. So, what about your life got you so interested in being super on top of the budgeting and I wasn't even planning to make this big part of the conversation, but now I'm just curious. What made you super invested in this? And I saw that one of your kids was taking a finance course. I think that is super cool.
Yeah, I honestly think it was just I didn't grow up that way. I did take a personal finance in college, class in college, just one class, and it was at the business school. And I just remember sitting there and seeing these numbers and the professor talking about he wrote all these crazy salaries on the wall. It was this person makes $2,700,000 a year. This person makes $700,000 a year, all these numbers. And I was just that is so much money. But they said, but they all went bankrupt was his punchline. And I'm how is that even possible? How I can't even, my brain could not wrap around that. And he, and breaking down how people who made way less, had debt paid off and no mortgages and, and just compound interest with retirement and how they were able to save a lot more. And I was just really, that just struck a nerve. And we were gifted some kind of book, I know, as newlyweds, I don't know if it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or I don't think it was that one. I think it was maybe it was. I'll look up the actual book and I'll see if I can find it. But just a couple little money things that we were fortunate enough to hear about early on when we were, young in our marriage and starting out. And I think maybe it helped that we were both on the same page and we kind of were starting with nothing. So it was okay, we're starting with nothing, but thankfully we weren't starting with debt either. We did have, I took out some loans while we were in school, but then I ended up getting scholarships to pay those off. And then we were okay, we're starting at zero. So now what, and that helped a lot, just having a couple books to go off of and see how some little simple things, it just, I don't know, maybe it seemed more simple when we were younger and things were less complicated and we didn't have kids and bills and stuff, because it was really okay, we're feeding ourselves, we don't need cable. We don't need, we got Netflix only a few years ago. We kind of have been just really sticklers on it, but it didn't feel like a sacrifice. And maybe it was because, like I've said, we just didn't have anything really to begin with. So it didn't feel like we had to give up things. I think it's a lot harder now for people. I have a sister who graduated college a few years ago, and she's making a lot of money now, way more than I ever made when I was a reporter. And she just turned 25, and she's travels a lot and likes to, she's yeah, I'm going to Jamaica. And we've been talking to her about budgeting, and she's oh, I just want this purse. It's so nice. And she's I've earned it. And I'm well, yes, you work hard and that's good, but you got to think long-term too, And so I think it's a little bit harder when you haven't had to cut back on things from the beginning. And then it's oh, now you feel you're giving stuff up. So that definitely is a little bit of an advantage I think we had. It was easier to not know what we were missing out on.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I know that my dad that he's a big into that book. And then isn't there one for kids as well?
There might be. We read a Ramsey book with our kids, Smart Money, Smart Kids.
We have that book and we never read it.
We listened to it on audio.
Okay.
That was really good for us. And they're a dynamic. The daughter is super cute, Rachel Cruz.
Oh yeah.
And and we really enjoyed that. And yeah, audiobooks all the way, especially for finance and stuff, it's way easier for me to digest if I'm just listening, and even while I'm cleaning or driving and stuff like that.
Okay. One more question about the finance stuff, and then we'll move on, I swear.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. So last summer we moved into this neighborhood and our kids did this lemonade stand, and I cannot believe how much money they made on a freaking lemonade stand. And
Wow.
immediately I was like, oh shoot, like I'm not ready for this. Like I don't have a business plan for them. I don't have
Yeah.
I made them donate 10% to charity, but there wasn't a big lesson there,
Good.
things like that. But I'm curious, if you were me
Mhm.
and your kid was going to do a lemonade stand, tell me what your plan would be with them. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but I bet you've done something like this before.
No, it's fine. I think from the get-go, if you want to, if your kids are like, I want to do a lemonade stand, and my kids have been there before, or my oldest at least, she's been there before. And I think, just being like, all right, that's a great idea. Like, don't shoot them down, encourage them. I think having these dreams, having these like desires to build something is really cool. And, we're their parents, we can help lift them up. Then just be like, all right, you want to do it? Like, let's make a plan. And that way, from the beginning, they know if, whether they get money, whether they don't, like however it goes, like how it's going to shake up and what they're going to do with whatever happens with that. Having a plan, and kind of just running down like, all right, so we need a budget for expenses, because, this lemonade stand isn't just going to pop up from nowhere. Do we have lemonade already? Are you going to make it? Are we going to make it from packets? Are we going to get lemons? Like, how do we want to do this? What's your budget? How much money do you want to spend before you try to earn money? And then that kind of gets them thinking like, oh, a budget, what does that mean? And you can kind of figure that out, because they could make $100 from the lemonade stand, but if they had to buy a table and pitchers and cups and, all the materials, you want to make sure that they understand how much they netted after, doing that. So knowing from the get-go, okay, what's the budget and the startup cost going to be? And then, just how to execute their plan and what they want to do with the money after. Like, okay, the first thing you do is you repay your investment or your debt. Like if their parents loaned them money, if you loaned them money to start it up, okay, I gave you $20. So that $20 comes back. Then what? What do you do with the rest? And I love how you did 10% for charity. I think that's great. That's what we do too. And then the other, you can do it different ways, but one way is splitting it 50-50, like 50 in spending money and 50 in savings money. And that's, kind of a nice way for them to see like, okay, if we go out and there's a toy you want to get, like you have spending money for that. And here's, savings. And I do think it's nice to have different buckets. Like my kids right now, my daughter is really good about like, okay, this is my spending and this is my savings. And she has like gift cards and things in her spending. And then she has like a minimum amount that she likes to keep in her savings and then build up on top of that. My son, he kind of keeps everything together and is like, I'm just saving it all, whatever, but I'm trying to help teach him like, it's okay to spend money, and they talk about that in that Smart Money, Smart Kids book is like, some kids are spenders and some are people, not just kids, but people are spenders, people are savers. There's nothing wrong with either. You just have to know what you are. So splitting that money in two different buckets kind of helps them know, okay, like this is what I can spend. Like you don't have to spend it, you can save it too, but it's there if you want something.
Okay. I am capitalizing on this year. I'm not letting this moment pass me by where I'm like, yeah, free for all lemonade stand. It was just kind of like so thrown together. And I'm like, oh no, we are doing this right this year. So I appreciate that.
Be fun.
Yeah. I need to get better about just like making sure I'm taking the time to educate, and we can even like pull up your bank account and look at where that money's going and all that.
Right.
Okay, friends. I hope that inspired you all listening to take some ownership there as well. I mean, I think that that's such a good lesson, and I mean, teaching your kids entrepreneurship too, right?
Definitely. And another book, like I think books are so good with kids, and I love listening to things on audiobooks, but one little simple kids book that I like is I think it's called like If I Had a Million.
Okay.
And it breaks down like, okay, like if you had 1,000,000 pennies, what would it do if you had, a million nickels, or like, and it kind of breaks down, but it also talks about investing and interest in things like, okay, if you put $1 million in the bank now, this is how much it would be later. If you put $1,000 in the bank in 30 years, this is how much it could be worth. If you took out a loan and then it was this, this is how much you pay in interest. So it kind of, it's just a fun way, and it shows, how much like all these $1 bills would weigh and how high they can stack. And like, it's very visual, but simple, but also like, I think parents and kids get some good takeaways from it.
I love that. And I'm telling you, listener, if you are a listener in your young 20s, you will blink and you will be almost 40. And those things are so important.
Yes.
I know. Isn't it crazy? Like, you remember when you get your first job and started your first 401k, and it's like, oh my gosh, here we are. We've been doing this for 20 years now already.
Oh, yeah. No, really. Like, I think about that all the time. I think how when I started my job in the news station and I'm like, oh, I can't really afford to do the match. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so far away. And now I'm like, why didn't I do that?
Like, that would have multiplied so much. Okay, Jennifer, we need to talk about your movie night journal. And that's like part of your big thing. I did not mean to spend so much of the conversation on finances, but you had me so interested. Talk to us a little bit about the movie situation with your family and the movie night journal that you created.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, it kind of ties into what we've been talking about, like with the house and stuff. It's funny, and, what you prioritize, and, we'll put in the pool off. But the very first upgrade we did to our home, like right after we had the keys, was turn them over to an entertainment media person, and they went in and built our theater room upstairs and added a projector and a big screen and built-in speakers.
So fun.
Because movies are just a big deal for us, and we love watching them together. Like, we really, it's very rare that something will be on and like more than one, like just for one person. Like, we're always kind of watching things together, and our TVs are all like out. We don't have them in bedrooms. They're all like out in the house. And we just love enjoying them together. So every week we have a family movie night, and that's when we turn off our phones and sit down and watch a movie. And the way that we do it, so that there's no arguing on what we're watching every week, is we take turns picking. So it's really fun because we get a lot of variety that way. Because, if I always hated when we would take turns, growing up, and it's like, what are we going to watch? And then you have to vote, and then you get outvoted.
Somebody's mad.
Yeah, somebody's mad, and they're like all grumpy. But this way we just know, like, hey, when it's your turn, you get to pick whatever you want, and everyone else has to, deal with it. Basically, you can't complain, is another one of our rules. So it's really cool because we get to, my 8-year-old son, like, he loves dinosaurs. So he'll pick like a Jurassic Park or Godzilla movie, which I would never watch on my own. But surprisingly, some of them are pretty interesting. So we've had fun with that. And then I usually pick something from like the 90s to let my kids watch, like Sandlot or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or we've been going through some of our old favorites. And my husband loves the Rocky movies. So my kids really have a good movie palette. Like, they can quote movies from the 70s and Princess Bride, and it's really been so fun for us. So we wanted to make something to bring this together, because I noticed like a lot of people visiting my blog were coming for the checklist, because I have like free Disney movie checklist and Pixar movies if you want to go down. Especially during the pandemic, everyone was like looking for this kind of thing. So but then this journal really brings together movie nights for families, like people who are like, how do you do the rules, and how do you take turns, and how do you, know what to watch? This like combines everything. Like, it breaks down, like, here's our rules. Here's how to make your own rules and blank space for you. Our cell phones and devices allowed in the movie room, yes or no, check a box. Or people allowed to complain about, other people's picks, or what happens, are you allowed to have repeats? That's a big one, because some people are like, oh, I can't watch this movie over and over again. So ours is pretty big. Like, we're like, you can't pick it for a year. So
okay.
A calendar year. Some people might do 6 months, or, different for their families, but it kind of gives you ideas for how to make a movie night a regular thing and a fun thing that everyone looks forward to, like it has been for us. And then also to keep track of like your favorite quotes and your favorite parts, and for everyone to rate the movie at the end, which
I like that.
our kids really like it, give the star ratings. Yeah.
That's so fun too, because it gives them agency over it. Like, oh, I'm a part of this too. This is what I thought about the movie. Do you have a certain day of the week that you always do them?
We like to do it on Fridays.
Okay.
That works for us. I know some people do it on Thursdays. People have different sports and things going on, but Fridays has been a good day for us. But if we do have something come up, we just shift it a day in a different direction. Yeah.
See, this is good motivation, because a lot of times when we put a movie on for our kids, my husband are like, y'all go watch that movie and we're going to be downstairs.
Yeah. Right.
And anytime I do, or my husband does, usually though, if he watches it, I'm like, I'm out of here. They love it so much. They just love experiencing that with you. They love when there's a part that they laugh and they see you're laughing too. Like there's a really deep connection there that's just organically happening.
Yes, absolutely. It really, and I feel like it's simple. We think like we have to do these big extravagant things to make these memories with our kids, but watching a movie together is so, it doesn't have to be extravagant. It's like an hour and a half, but you're all focused on the same thing. And, like you said, like laughing at those different moments and then seeing that you're actually watching it with them, not, doing something else or sidetracked. And then like my son, like he loves, talking through movies. Like he is like a serial, oh my goodness, talker through movies. But he loves when we like talk and engage with when it's his turn to pick. Like he likes to hear our commentary and stuff with him. And he just, when we're like screaming about Godzilla and just getting all into it, like he loves that so much. And I think each time it's a different person's turn, they really feel seen and like invested in what they chose, and they're excited to have other people enjoy that with them. And it keeps it fair, and like, people are looking forward to doing it every week because they're like, well, in 3 more weeks it's my turn, so like let's hurry up and have her turn.
Yeah, I'm curious how it works though with your youngest being so young. Like that's a pretty big age gap from her all the way up to your daughter. It's like 3, what are you, 3, 10, 13?
11. 3, almost 9 and 11.
Okay.
So there is an 8-year gap from oldest to youngest. So it's not as bad as some families have. We do have, the kind of rule that we have is nothing too scary unless it's like closer to her bedtime, because then we can turn it on, put her to bed, and then finish the movie. If it's something really scary. But she, oh my goodness, she's like a very hardy Little Shop of Horrors, I think, was probably the scariest movie. I didn't intend it to be scary, but that kind of scared her a little. But then she just loved it and wanted to watch it again and again, like the next few days. So, but every family is different, and you can kind of choose what the rules are. Thankfully, we don't have anyone in our house yet that's like into anything too scary or horror movies or anything. And then if there's anything that like, has swearing or things that we don't want, we just run it. We use VidAngel, which is an app that you can choose your filters. So we'll, turn off things like, certain swear words or all swear words, or certain like scenes that we're like, okay, we can just skip over this or whatever. And it just skips right over it.
Yeah. That's interesting because, there's, like The Sandlot, for instance, I've watched that with our boys a few times. And there's only that one scene with the lifeguard where you're like, do I want my 9-year-old boy to start thinking about that right now? I don't know. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, does it flag it and just you fast forward it? Okay.
Yeah, it does. It is. It like everything. It is say like, immodesty, and then it might have, women in bathing suits, or, a girl kisses, or like it's very descriptive. So you can just check a box and it will skip over certain things, it's worth it for us for some of the shows that they like to watch with my husband, because it works on Netflix. So it's great.
Yeah. I'm like, I guess I don't care about language as much just personally, because I'm like, well, they're going to hear that and we're just going to talk about how it's not appropriate. Right. But the sexual stuff is a little more
that's
like
the thing for me too. Yeah. That's the thing for me too. My son is so grossed out by kissing. So he like, I think
Makes him
even just
uncomfortable.
voluntarily closed his eyes, but yeah. But yeah, you can skip over. Yeah, same. Like they've watched all the Marvels except for Eternals. Because I was like, oh, why do you guys have to put that in there?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm like, man. But yeah, so you can choose what and what. But and I think movies are also such a great, like there's all this talk right now about turning red.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I went off on like a rant about that. But I think movies are also like a really good opportunity to break the ice and have conversations about things, because as parents, sometimes it's hard to bring stuff up. And there's like, I love books as a tool to do that, but movies are really good too, of like, hey, just hit the pause button and like have a conversation. And, or afterwards, like during the end credit, we fill out the journal during the end credits, and to wait and see if there's an extra bonus scene. And we'll talk about it then. It's just such a, I think it can be a good icebreaker at times.
Hey everybody, a quick break here to thank Card My Yard for supporting this podcast. If you are looking to celebrate someone special in your life, Card My Yard is the original franchise yard greeting service. And if you don't even live close to someone, but you want to send them some love, say your parents have an anniversary or your niece or nephew has a birthday and you just want to send them some special love, you can use Card My Yard in their city. They have franchises all over the country. My son is turning 10 in June, and so I cannot wait to put this little sign in our front yard. What I love about it is this is fun. All the neighbors who walk by, like they can see it and wish him a happy birthday. It just makes him feel special. And I feel like 10's a really big birthday. So really excited about that. And if you want to save $5 on your next purchase with Card My Yard for a birthday, anniversary, graduation celebration, anything at all, go to cardmyyard.com. Use the code CMY5Y. That's WHY. CMY5 and the word Y. Check it out and go support a sponsor of this podcast. Sponsors are what keep this show running. So when you support a sponsor, it lets them know that people are listening. Thank you so much, Card My Yard. Thank you, listeners, for supporting this podcast and Card My Yard. And I hope you enjoy the rest of my conversation with Jennifer. Turning Red, it's funny because I had just seen it pop up on Disney. I think it's Disney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so we put it on for our boys over the weekend or I think Friday night. And of course I didn't watch it with them, but then I also started seeing people posting about it. And then I saw you posted like what you guys thought of it. And then you're like rebuttal or whatever, like once people freaked out. And so can you just explain, because I didn't watch it, what is the show and like why are people freaking out?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, like Turning Red, it's like they have said this from the start, like it's a coming of age movie about this 13-year-old girl. Like when I hear coming of age 13, I think of things like My Girl, where like that kind of like puberty period crushes, like that's all in that movie. Like that's like the definition of coming of age to me. So I knew there could be, something in there, but also I think people have this idea of like, it's animated, it's Pixar, like, what is this? So yeah, it's about a girl who, when her emotions overcome her, she turns into a panda. It's like a red panda. It's this gift from her ancestors. And the part that, different parts that people were upset about were her like having a crush on these 4-town, like Backstreet Boy type boy band. And these girls were saying they were going to be women after they went to the show, and they, had these like hard eyes and were in love with them. And they're like, how can this 13-year-old girl be into these men? And I'm like, weren't we all?
Yeah.
When we were in middle school? Do we not remember New Kids on the Block and NSYNC and Backstreet Boys? So that was a part of it. And then the mom, like, she doesn't realize that her daughter has that it's time and that she's turned into the panda. So she's assuming that she's like, did your red flower bloom,
Oh.
which is like people use, to describe periods. And she's like, maybe, because she's like, I'm red. I don't know. Is that what this means? And her mom's like, oh, let me grab the pads. I have, thin and winged and ultra and overnight. And I was just dying. I thought it was hilarious because we've all either been there as kids or like as parents or, depending which stage you're in. And it's this awkwardness that you're like, how do you have this conversation? And you see the mom struggling to like, how do I bring this up? And the daughter's like, oh, go away, mom. And, I was just dying. I thought it was so hilarious. My son, who's 8, like was like, what's pads? And he like, it's going over his head. And my 3-year-old was like, the panda is so funny. And then my 11-year-old daughter's like, oh my gosh, why is this mom so crazy? She's so over the top, so they all kind of had different reactions to this. And I think that parents who maybe like maybe who aren't as open or weren't expecting that in the movie, kind of had this shock of like, what is happening? But when I read, some of the stuff that people were asking me about, like on Facebook, who were saying this is so inappropriate, I was like, I did not think we watched the same movie, just their interpretation of how they were describing it, with like describing, like, I think one lady used the word pedophiles, like, and I'm like, they're banned people. They're not like, I don't know what you're saying. And I think she said, and they talk about drug use, but the mom was like, literally, there was a kid and she's like, how old are you? 35. And he says, I'm 17. And she's like, well, that's why you shouldn't do drugs, because you look old, and it's a joke. And so I had to like really think about like, when did that happen? What could they even be thinking, happened? So yeah, I think it's a great, adorable movie. I had no issues showing it to my kids, but I really think it's one of those things, every family's different. There's nothing wrong with watching a movie on your own and deciding if it's okay for your kids, or watching it together and having a conversation about it. Yeah. And, I think culturally it's different. It's different too, because, I think a lot of us in America thought like, oh, that mom was so over the top. My daughter did, but I was also kind of like, well, my mom was a little bit like that when I was growing up. And I saw women from the Asian community saying like, this is how my mom was, So sometimes it's nice to get a window into other people's lives and how it is for other people, and realize, it's not our lives aren't the same as everyone else, and movies and books and different media can give us a glimpse into how experiences were for other people. And this movie was directed by an Asian woman, and who like she was writing like a story of her childhood. So obviously that was how it was. I mean, besides the panda part, I guess.
Sure.
But so I think it's good to understand that different people have different experiences, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just different, and to remind our kids like, yeah, that mom's a little over the top, and, I'm not like that, but some moms can be like that.
Yeah. I mean, it is important to have that representation though, because we can just be along in our own little bubbles without it. So that's really good. I kind of just like thought maybe I should pay more attention before I just put a movie on for my kids and walk downstairs. Though you
should also watch it.
No, I know.
Are you a millennial?
Yeah, I'm a older millennial. Yes.
Okay, so I think you would probably. It's based in 2002, which I think was fun because it's like
when I graduated high school. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not this like futuristic, movie, or this like olden movie where they rode horses. It's like
sure.
Right in the years. So that was kind of fun to see the Tamagotchis and Nano Pets and Nokia phones and, Twilight books.
Oh,
and things
totally.
That,
I read the Twilight books in my 20s, and I'm actually reading Harry Potter with my kids right now, and I love it.
For the first time?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I've never read it.
Harry Potter in my late 20s, I think.
See, I always wanted to read it as an adult, but I was like, there's so many other books I want to read, but I want to know, like, I know it's such a big, like, significant series from our generation
Yeah.
that I'm like, I need to know, but I didn't want to spend the time doing it. So now I'm like, this is perfect. We read a chapter before bed every night, and then we will watch that movie together. And so, yeah, I'm excited about that.
That'd be fun. Oh, that's awesome. I need to, my kids are Percy Jackson fans, so we haven't, I read the first 2 Harry Potter books to them, but they're like,
are they done with it?
Like, we're going to have to try again.
I'm so curious though, based on that book. When I started my period, I was really old. I was like 16 at the youngest. I might have even been 17. I was super old. And I didn't even like talk to my parents about it. I just like started stealing tampons from my mom. I just started.
Wow, you went straight to the tampon.
I just started. Well, because like all my friends had been doing that for years. So like since I was so old, it was like I knew. Yeah. So I just started like taking them from her bathroom, and I think she caught on like somebody else is using tampons here.
Oh wow.
Because my mom, I don't know, man. I don't know if she could go back, if she would do it differently, but there was like a lot of like just don't talk about it kind of stuff.
There was, for sure. There was a lot of that. Like it was. Our generation, it was kind of
like just don't have sex, but we're not going to talk about it. All those things.
Exactly. This is all we're saying about it. Don't do it.
Just don't do it.
End.
I'm curious though. I only have boys, so as a mom of daughters, like, have you like, and your oldest is 11. Have you thought about those conversations with periods and stuff?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have, and I bring it up, and my daughter always is like, "Oh, mom," like. I mean, but I'm in this like weird, like I'm trying to not be like too cool about it, because I think there's like this try to play it too cool, so I think I've taken a few different approaches with it, like, just trying to be casual, like, oh yeah, if you ever, want to talk about it, if you need this, or this is, I mean, they've all been barging in the bathroom on me from day one.
Sure,
so I feel
totally.
Like kind of,
what are you doing, Mom? What is that? Yeah.
Right, exactly. Well, so yeah, we definitely have had the conversation several times, and she had a big like 5-inch growth spurt last year. So I'm like, let me go and this, but I mean, I think I will say that the more we talk about it, the less awkward it feels. Like just because I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of like that with anything, right? When the more you practice or do anything, it gets easier. So I think maybe that was the issue with our generation. It was like, okay, we talked about it one time and that was really weird, and I just don't want to do it again.
Yes.
But now I'm like, okay, like this isn't so bad. We can, talk. And I hope that, because I have some friends whose daughters are in their 20s now, and they say how their mom was just always so open with them, and it made them feel so comfortable. And I'm like, oh, that's just what I want so much for them. And also like with my son, like I'm like, I should be telling, he's asking about pads. Like he needs to know about this too, because he's got 2 sisters, he's going to have girlfriends. Like he can help them out. Like, hey, I got some extra in my bag too.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I can say, I guess, is it feels awkward at first, but it gets easier. Books help. I think media can help, and just, talking about it more really is the thing I think that helps the most.
Face it head on. Okay. Tell us about your, and we're going to wrap up here, but tell us about the June National Movie Night thing you're doing.
Yes. So yeah, we launched our movie night journal last year, and it's in hundreds of families' homes now. And I love like seeing pictures and seeing people enjoy family movie night
so
and
fun.
The journal. And I was like, okay, we need to do something. Like we should do something big on National Movie Night. And I was looking up like, when is National Movie Night? And I could find nothing. I'm like, little cities would do activities, but there wasn't like a routine calendar day. So I'm like, I'm going to do this. How do I do this? So I just researched and found like National Today calendar, and like applied and wrote how I wanted it to be. And like a couple months later, they were like, yeah, we selected your calendar day. And,
oh, I love it. You did this.
Yeah. So this is our thing. Jada and I like submitted it, and it's going to be the second Friday in June. So I figured it was kind of like most people should be out of school, kind of kicking off summer break, maybe not like out on their vacations just yet. So second Friday in June, like have a party, bring friends over, or just do, with your family, or it's just National Movie Night. It's not family movie, but family, it can be whoever family is to you. But yeah, National Movie Night. So we'll probably do something big at our house, like maybe get like a blow up projector to do outside, and also have maybe a movie going inside, and but it definitely doesn't have to be like that. But just get some popcorn and make a fun night of it. It can kick off your family movie night tradition.
I did not know that, like, what the process was for like getting a national whatever day for something. Because I'm like, there's National Donut Day, there's National Pizza Day. I had no idea there was like some process where you like submit it. Who did you submit it to?
So I submitted it to National Day Cal, because that's the one I always go to when I'm looking for like for social media ideas. Like, okay, so National Sibling Day is coming up here, so let me like draft a post on this.
Okay.
So I searched their site, like, oh, I should do something, what are some movie ones that I can celebrate, so I can coincide it with my movie night journal and talk about it. And I found National Popcorn Day in January, but no movie night or movie day, and when I was writing it, I'm like, National Movie Day, like it doesn't have the same ring to it as National Movie Night. So.
Oh, that's so cool. Do you know what movie you guys are going to do?
No, I don't. I'm trying. So second Friday in June. Oh my gosh. Wait, is it the second Friday?
You know what's coming out or no?
I'm looking. Okay, Jurassic World Dominion comes out that day, I believe. So we might be, I'm trying to see if that's the first. Oh, no, wait, is that the second Friday? Friday. That is the second Friday. So we might be seeing the new Jurassic World movie.
Okay, last question.
Maybe we'll have to watch 2 movies.
With that, where do you stream? Like, where do you watch? Because we talked about finances and budgeting and being smart about that. What is your like strategy on like watching all these movies and not spending a ton of money?
So sharing streaming stuff. So my mom, she buys a lot of movies on Amazon. Like she loves to just like if she loves a movie, her favorite, she'll buy it.
Yeah.
So like last week we watched not Guardians of the Galaxy. What is it called? Galaxy Quest, a comedy movie. And she loved that movie and she bought it years ago. So I'm like, okay, we're just going to watch it on hers.
Sure.
And then I'll just kind of, when we have an idea of what they're picking, I'll just look and see what it's streaming on. We share Disney Plus with my mom. Mm-hmm. Like we pay for it and then she gets to use ours. And then in turn, like we use her like Peacock. So like,
totally.
We kind of like do that kind of thing. So that helps a lot.
So Disney Plus is your like main.
Disney Plus is our main one. Netflix now too, but we still have like the cheapest Netflix.
Yeah,
like, you can't stream on more than 2 devices. It's like HD, not the new like fancy HD. Like But and then sometimes Vudu has deals too, where you can buy. They'll have like buy 5 movies for $5. And it's like a pack of some kind of theme or something like Transformers or whatever. So if there's something that we like. Sometimes we'll do that too, just to beef up our movie collection.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. I do not know how I'm going to title this episode because it's like finances plus movie night.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't know. Dreaming.
No, I love it. Okay. Let's wrap up here. So I know you homeschool your kids. You probably got a lot of things going on. What is something professionally or personally that you would like to do that you haven't done yet?
Oh man, that's a good question. Oh, okay, personally, because I feel like professionally I'm all over the place. But personally, I would like to visit all of the Disney parks around the world, like Paris, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Tokyo.
Yeah, is that all of them? Plus, obviously, the U.S. ones.
So. Yeah, and then I've been to the 2 U.S. ones. Yep.
Nice. What is the best, most recent book you've read?
Ooh, okay. Right now I'm reading this book called, I think it's called Crescent or something. Sarah J. Maas. She's an amazing author. And when I want to escape, I go to read her books. I love her Throne of Glass series and her Court of Thorns and Roses series. So I'm reading her newest series right now.
Oh, Somebody has suggested The Throne of Glass to me.
That one's a really good. I would start with that.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. If you could suggest a movie for people to kick off doing this weekly, or maybe for them it's monthly movie night with their family. Say they have kids around our kids' ages. I'm similar to you. Mine are 3 through 9. What would you suggest?
Okay. So I would suggest probably something Pixar.
Okay.
Or that is a really good question. Like one movie, something Pixar. I have a free checklist with all of them, but a really good one is Toy Story.
Okay.
It's just like, I think the parents will love it because they probably haven't seen it in a while, and it's like a blast from the past. The kids will love it because it's funny. It's also the first Pixar movie, so if you wanted to start going in order.
Oh, fun. That's a great idea. Okay, I love that. What's your last message to leave with our audience today?
Ooh, we've covered a lot. I think I just want people to know really that we are all so unique and have unique gifts and talents that we were given before we were born. And I think a lot of times in the world, we can look around, especially with social media now, and see people doing things and think like, wow, they're doing that. Like, should I be doing that? But remembering that our goals and dreams don't have to look like anyone else's. They can evolve. And we have our own unique gifts and talents that we just kind of have to explore and play with and get to know. And there's no race to this finish line. Like, it's our life to mold as we want. And just to know that, like, you can do that and try not to set limits on yourself. Because once I took off these ideas of like limitations and these boxes I had around myself of, I'm a journalist and, or I came from this background, like I'll never, have a mortgage-free home. Like once I took all of these like limitations that I had put on myself without even really realizing, I was able to achieve so much more. So I think just believe in yourself. I know that sounds cheesy, but it's 100%. Like I 100% believe that.
I love that. It's like you can write your story.
Yeah.
Like you were born into certain things. You were given certain things that you have to either like, walk through that might be hurdles or whatever. But like I've been reading this book from Donald Miller called Hero on a Mission. And so much of the book is like, you can let like fate dictate your story, or you can take a hold of it and make choices yourself and like kind of like actually put pen to paper and write your story. And that to me feels like exactly what you're saying. Like you take charge.
Absolutely. 100%. Like I think once I stopped like kind of, telling myself that I couldn't for whatever reason, like, well, I had this happen, or, well, this is, how I was born. And well, this is what, like, once I stopped doing that, I just was really able to see the possibilities so much more clear.
Jennifer, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so fun.
All right, friends, thanks so much for listening today. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to the show. Thank you, Jennifer, for sharing your story. You guys can find Jennifer on Instagram. She is Jennifer Borget over there. Make sure you follow this podcast, Why Is Everyone Yelling?, as well as me. I'm Lindsay Hines 626. I'd love to connect with you over there. This podcast is part of the Sandy Boy Productions podcast network. You can learn more about all of our shows when you go to sandyboyproductions.com. Thanks for being here. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next week on Why Is Everyone Yelling?